democracy or the social system of meritocracy happening to you?
It really depends on like where you grow up. As far as, you know, it really, the education that you receive is going to ultimately, not entirely because there's some kids, you know, in the really crappy school who do well, but it's such a smaller amount of the students who actually have, you know, all these opportunities, all this money back in their education.
Yeah, and how does that money get there?
Lots of people in power
Yeah.
who are distributing the money.
Exactly. People who are in power distribute the money, and those people are chosen on a system based on democratic values. But when we look at democracy as a governing institution, and how it influences education, that is one way, definitely, is by parents of these children electing their peers and colleagues into these positions to make decisions based on that. And you know, it varies in a suburban area where everyone, you know, has cars, voting access is regularly able, you know, and in an urban area where a ride to the voting booth might not be, you know, possible, that definitely makes a big difference. The cultural influences make a big difference. Libby, what is one way that you experienced meritocracy in high school? Where someone, now remember the definition of meritocracy. We've gone over that it is when someone is tested and based on their intellect or talents and are chosen to do something far greater than yourself. I know that sounds very negative, but
probably even just, I don't know, like I can think of just like how teachers treat you, because like I was a student who always did what I was supposed to, and I got good grades, and I'm like, I could walk around the school without like a hall pass, and no one would ask me like, oh, well, where are you going? Whereas like a student who maybe gets like C's or D's, like will constantly be like asked like, oh, well, I need to see your hall pass. Where are you going? You need to go back to class.
yeah, and it's based on the grading system, the grading scale. Yeah, very good. Stephen, do you have something that has happened to you in high school, since you were more recently in high school than some of us here, that it would provide an example that you'd like to discuss of democracy?
Of democracy.
Yeah. And before we take our quiz, I will give us a few examples of those. But I just like you.
To be honest, I ignored everything in high school.
You ignored everything in high school.
Yeah.
Terrible. Oh, Byron, do you have an example of democracy then? And remember, democracy is, as the dictionary definition of democracy is a social system of governing based on classlessness and equality.
I guess I can't really think of anything.
Okay. Zach, do you have one?
Well, my town wasn't very good democratically. Let's just say it was a very conservative town, and referendum after referendum failed and failed and failed because people didn't want to pay taxes.
Okay.
So democracy didn't really work because classlessness was out the window because there was classes between. My town was a very poor and very high class. There was no in between. So poor people had a lot of the children going to the school, whereas a lot of the high class lived on the river and they didn't have anybody going to the school, so they didn't want to pay taxes. So
True.
I didn't get a lot of stuff.
Anybody else who wants to involve in this discussion with them?
In a place like Superior, where you've got just a singular system, just a single high school, single public, single middle school, democracy is a major part of it because you don't have different schools. You don't have a wealthier part of this town On the other hand, of course, meritocracy does exist, and if you look at, as you go along in your high school career, you have scholarship opportunities, you have opportunities to take advanced classes, these things, put you above the rest, give you money, get you better access to college. Well, those who don't succeed as much may have problems than what Lydia said. When there's even if it's not intentional, if you are a good student, people will question you less, and you could theoretically, if you are a good student, take advantage of the system, take advantage of the trust of the teachers. Well, if you weren't, if you didn't have that achievement, they wouldn't perceive it the same way.
Yeah. Well, right now, now that we've all kind of discussed that, and now we've kind of got our brains buzzing a little bit about these two subjects, I'm going to give us the last 3 minutes of our time here, just going through the quiz. And if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, let me know. Other than that, I thank you all for being here, and you can just hand in the quizzes to me when you are done. And I'll turn the other light back on, so we have a little light. Name on them would be nice, if you can. finish up your second and hand your paper in, quiz in, that would be great. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Alrighty.